All right, let's dive into the race. We're joined now by Melissa Michelson, political science professor and dean of art and sciences at Menlo College, as well as KTVU political analyst Brian Silva. Brian, the results filtering in, your reaction?
Not terribly surprised. We've talked about it a lot, that Javier Becerra would do well, that Hilton, because of the Republicans, would do well, that I said earlier, the Bianco votes late in the game, those that might have voted for him, shifted over. You could see that in the results so far. And I think that's going to be the lineup for November.
But surprised that he is beating, Steve Hilton is beating the Tom Steyer?
No, because all Republicans were, or many Republicans were going for him as opposed to the Democrat field being split. But Tom Steyer, at the end of the day, for all the millions and everything else, failed to connect in a big way with California voters.
But it is a numbers game at this point. And do you think, Melissa, that when will we know if the numbers will work out? You know, I mean, we are waiting, but the numbers are still coming in. And
yeah, it's entirely possible that it could still be a Becerra versus Steyer runoff, because remember, Republicans were casting their ballots earlier, and so these earlier returns, you know, a lot of these counties, we have less than 50% of the votes that have come in.
Because we're
so
hearing
far.
candidates say we're going to let democracy work itself out, and there was always this talk about this red mirage. It's hard, though, when you still see numbers coming in, to not assume that this is the full picture.
Yeah, but we say this every election, right? Don't believe those early numbers, but it's always that the Republicans are doing well earlier, and then you see those numbers change. And none of these candidates want to be seen saying, I've won, I've made it, when then more numbers come back, right? That's a bad luck.
I would add, though, that if you listen to what Steyer said, he was pretending that he had been beaten by outside money and everything else. So there's a lot of internal polling that goes on in all these races. I've seen it up close. They're tracking certain things. They're tracking all 58 counties at one time. I'm guessing that he's not getting great news.
If it is Becerra at the top, what's the campaign the next 5 months for him? What's his message to Californians?
Well, I think it's more of the same, and showing, you know, this is what voters said they wanted, and so I'm here to give you more what I promised I would give you during the primary. It's a much easier race for Becerra, obviously, because instead of having an inter-party battle between a more moderate Democrat and a more progressive Democrat, if it were to be Tom Steyer, then it's Democrat versus Republican. You don't have to work as hard. You just have
look at
to.
the numbers.
Right, but just don't mess up.
I mean, because
Don't fumble the ball on the 2-yard line.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, what California is as being a blue state at this point, there's the primary and then there's the general, and there has been this thought from Democratic candidates that if I can just get through the primary and if I have a Republican challenger,
Then
the
it's
road
over. Then it's
can
pretty
be
much
easier.
over. Absolutely.
Right, and of course for Republicans out there, they're saying, hey, the last 10 governors of California, 5 are Republicans, but it's been a very long time.
We've got to stop you right there, because I believe Steve Hilton is addressing a crowd right now. President Donald Trump endorsed him.
Yes.
Are we going to see more President Trump in California over the next 5 months, if indeed the results stay as they are right now?
I don't see Trump campaigning in California for him. No, I do not. But I think when asked, Hilton will acknowledge that he has Trump's endorsement. But what happens after a primary is that both candidates, if they come from different parties, have to kind of come to the middle to find to find people who are willing to cross over. Hilton's going to have to do that. He's got to find Democrats and independents and decline to states, or he doesn't have a chance.
And don't you think, I mean, certainly Gavin Newsom did not endorse anyone, and certainly,
he kept his hands clean.
And really the top Democrats didn't really do anything, and that is fairly normal. But if it ends up being one Democrat,
then
one Republican, then all the Democrats
Yes.
coalesce, and that's a different race.
Absolutely, and in California, overwhelmingly a Democratic state. We have supermajorities in both chambers in the legislature. It's, again, unless somebody fumbles the ball at the 2-yard line, right? It will be a Democratic victory, and so everybody will be coming behind him, and that's when partisanship really kicks in.
What do you think happened to Matt Mahan? You know, he came out, I know he came out a little bit late. He got a ton of money.
Yes.
But there just wasn't traction in the polls.
Yeah,
Melissa?
I think he had trouble in the debates really finding a lane that made him distinct, made him stand out. And, you know, while we know Matt Mahan because San Jose is a local city, in most of the state he was an unknown. So he comes into the race just comes into the race just without people being familiar with
Do you think that the Matt Mahans, the Katie Porters, there was some coverage in these final days too, because the Democratic Party in California had pushed for some of these other candidates to not make it such a crowded field. Will there be some criticism post-election to say we could have had a couple of Democrats on this November ballot if Tom Steyer can't overcome Steve Hilton in
Well, right.
these
We
days?
still might have
Yes.
two Democrats on the final ballot.
We have to say an if.
I think the Democratic Party was doing what was in the best interest of the party, was saying, you know, we can't splinter the vote. We can't risk having two Republicans be on the final ballot. And so the Democratic Party was doing what it needed to. But remember, most candidates didn't heed that advice, and they stayed in. And so will the Democratic Party take criticism for something that didn't really seem to do much?
I think there's going to be debate because, you know, even the Democrat state chair tried to get people to leave the race. They just wouldn't. And you look at some of those people that polled at 2, 3, 5%, and you kept asking yourself, why are you doing that? Why are you staying in this race? Hand it off to Becerra or to, at the time, Eric Swalwell, whoever it was. But they stayed in the race. And I think there's going to be some ongoing criticism within the party for that.
Becerra was at 5% when he was saying that. And so
Absolutely.
if the lower polling candidates had heeded that advice, we would not be looking at
What
Becerra
if Kamala Harris was
moving.
in the race?
Well, boy,
that
that's
would
Change everything.
there's your curveball, Mike. Good night.
Always got to throw one.
Yeah.
Got to throw one.